Good evening and welcome to the public meeting for the draft environmental impact statement for Zenith Properties building demolition application. This meeting is being recorded and will begin shortly. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the public meeting for the Zenith Properties building demolition application draft DEIS. My name is Kristen Anderson and I'm a member of the consulting project team supporting the city of Des Moines. On behalf of the entire project team, we welcome you here this evening and we appreciate you spending your time with us. We are expecting about 91 people to join this evening and 26 of you have pre-registered to give public comments. We'll have two parts in tonight's meeting. We'll start with a short presentation and then move into the main purpose of tonight's event to take public comment. The meeting will end when everyone who is interested has had the opportunity to comment once. To reduce background noise and make sure things run smoothly, all attendees will be muted with videos off during the presentation. This meeting is being recorded and a court reporter is here to transcribe your comments. Finally, by participating in this evening's event, you are consenting to being recorded in accordance with city law and public records practices. Any comments that are made will become public information and all public disclosure rules and regulations apply. Tonight, everyone's participating through the Zoom platform. I'll briefly walk you through the toolbar and controls now. You can enable the closed captions by clicking on the Show Captions button on the right side of your bar. You could submit a clarifying question about the EIS or comment process and report technical difficulties by clicking the Q&A button here. Your questions will only be seen by the project team. Please note that this feature is reserved only for clarifying questions or if you are experiencing technical difficulties. Comments will not be accepted in this format, and I'll share more information in a minute about how to give your comment. We aren't using the raise hand or chat buttons at this time. Both are disabled. And lastly, if you're having any trouble hearing us, you can adjust your audio settings by clicking here on the left side of your button under audio settings. And if you still can't hear us then after adjusting those settings, you may need to also adjust the volume on your device, your computer or your tablet. It is possible to join this evening's meeting by phone if you wish to listen along. And to join by phone, you would dial 253-215-8782. You'll then be prompted to enter the meeting ID number, which is 897-9481-2381. Please note that we will not be able to take questions or comments from call-in participants, but we encourage you to submit comments through the online portal on the project website or by mail. And as I mentioned, I'll share more details about giving comment shortly. Now we'd like to take a moment to provide some context regarding the purpose of tonight's meeting. Our goal for the meeting is to share information about the Zenith application, the SEPA process, and upcoming milestones. This meeting also provides a meaningful opportunity for community members to comment on the draft EIS, which is legally required by the EIS process. The public comment period is open until March 8th. There are multiple ways you can provide comment during this time. One option is to provide comments during this meeting. We have a court reporter transcribing all comments shared today, and as previously mentioned, this session is being recorded. 26 of you pre-registered to provide comment when you registered for this event. To make sure everyone has an opportunity to comment, each person may provide one comment during tonight's meeting. If you didn't sign up during registration, but have decided you'd like to provide comment or decide during the meeting that you'd like to provide comment, you can write your first and last name in the Q&A now or at any point during the meeting, and a project member will add you to the queue. There are two other ways that you can provide comments by March 8th. You can submit a comment online via the city's website, which is www.desmoineswa.gov/Zenith EIS. Or you can submit your comments by mail. We'll pause for a moment in case anyone wants to take down the details on this slide. We are now moving into the welcome remarks from the City of Des Moines. As I mentioned before, there are two primary sections to our agenda, and we'll take a short break in between. Now I'd like to turn it over to Denise Lathrop from the city to welcome you all.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending tonight's virtual public meeting for the Zenith Properties Draft Environmental Impact Statement. I'd like to welcome those elected officials who are also in attendance. My name is Denise Lathrop, and I am the Community Development Director and State Environmental Policy Act official for the City of Des Moines. As SEPA official, my role is to ensure that the environmental impact analysis is thorough and accurate, and that the SEPA process follows state law. The city hired a team of experts led by environmental science associates who prepared the environmental impact statement and is assisting us through the SEPA process. On January 9th, the city issued the Notice of Draft EIS Availability and Comment Period for the Zenith EIS. Washington Administrative Code requires a 30-day comment period for a draft EIS unless it is extended by the lead agency, which in this case is the City of Des Moines. Prior to issuing the notice, the city and the applicant agreed to an extended 45-day comment period. On January 23rd, the SEPA record was updated with the latest version of Appendix E, the feasibility analysis report that is dated May 22nd of 2023. Now, this information does not change the environmental impact analysis. However, the city extended the comment period to March 8th at 4:30 p.m. in order to enable the public additional time to review this information. At this time, the comment period is twice as long as what is required under state law. So tonight is your opportunity to provide comment on the draft EIS and for us to listen. Now I'd like to turn it over to the other panel members, Nicole Lobenzinski and Pamela Zander from Environmental Science Associates. They will provide a little bit of background information about the proposal and will walk you through the SEPA process.
Thank you, Denise. Hello, everyone. I'm glad you could join the meeting tonight. My name is Nicole Lobenzinski. I'm a consultant with Environmental Science Associates, or ESA, and we are producing the environmental impact statement and designing the process for the City of Des Moines. The applicant and property owner is Zenith Properties, LLC. The SEPA lead agency is the City of Des Moines. And as we mentioned, ESA is the consulting firm hired to write the EIS under the direction of the city. I'll now provide you with a bit of an overview of the proposal. We're here discussing a demolition permit application that was resubmitted to the city by the applicant Zenith Properties, LLC in September 2020, after the Freemasons of Washington submitted a demolition permit in 2019. The purpose is to demolish and remove the structures on the site for the approximately 27-acre former Masonic home landmark on the Sound property located at 23660 Marine View Drive South. This image gives you a layout of the buildings on the site, which encompasses 27 acres, including a main building, multiple outbuildings, outdoor facilities, landscaping, and green space. Built in 1926 and opened in 1927, the main building served as a retirement home for Freemasons in Washington until closure in 2006. It was then used as an event center called Landmark on the Sound until 2014. There were a number of past sale and development proposals for the site that didn't move forward, and it was purchased by Zenith Properties LLC in 2019 from the Freemasons. The Freemasons of Washington submitted a demolition permit application in 2019 as part of the sale. Zenith resubmitted the application in September 2020. There have been a number of different designations of the site over time. In 1995, the city of Des Moines designated the property as a historic or archaeological property of local significance. On November 30th, 2022, Zenith Properties LLC requested the property be removed from the city of Des Moines historical property survey. In 2014, Washington State Department of Archaeology and Historic Preservation determined the building was eligible to be added to the National Register of Historic Places. I will now turn it over to my colleague, Pam.
Thanks, Nicole. Good evening, everyone. My name is Pam Zander, and I also work with Environmental Science Associates. I'm going to start by reviewing the applicant's objectives for the property. The objectives that they have are to demolish the existing structures on the property, remove unsafe conditions and potential hazards due to existing structural conditions, prevent further trespassing within the existing structures, prevent further vandalism to the existing structures, and prevent further graffiti to the existing structures. I'm now going to talk a little bit with you about what SEPA is. And of course, SEPA is an acronym, stands for the State Environmental Policy Act. The citation on the slide here is from the Washington Administrative Code 19711, if you want to read more about what is required in a SEPA process. An important thing to remember is that SEPA is not a permit, it's a process, and it's a way to involve the public and other agencies and give their feedback on proposals. Information gathered during the SEPA process helps the public understand the proposal and how it might affect the environment, and public comments are taken into consideration in decision-making. The City of Des Moines is the SEPA lead agency for the demolition application, and they determined that an environmental impact statement is required because there would likely be a significant adverse environmental impact resulting from the demolition of the structures. The city will make the decision regarding the demolition permit application after they've reviewed all of the environmental review analysis. We just mentioned an environmental impact statement, EIS. This is a technical document that's going to provide formal information to the public and decision makers about the environmental effects of the proposal on both the natural and built environment. The document includes existing environmental conditions, alternatives, and potential impacts and measures to reduce or mitigate any significant unavoidable adverse impacts. This graphic shows the EIS process. On the left, you can see that the initial application was submitted, and then there was a determination of significance in May 2022, meaning that an EIS would need to be produced. And then there were 2 comment periods during scoping in spring-summer 2022. The red, we are here, indicates where we are in the process now, which is the comment period for the draft EIS. After the comments are reviewed, the city will issue a final EIS. And after that, a decision on the permit can be made. Let's talk a little bit about contents of what you'll find in the draft EIS. This Chapter 1 summary provides a really good overview of the impacts and potential mitigation. It'll also have a summary table of impacts and potential mitigation measures to reduce adverse impacts. This is a good place to start your review. Chapter 2 discusses the alternatives. there are 3 alternatives being studied for this proposal, which I'll explain on the next slide. And then chapters 3 through 5 contain the more detailed analysis. And then the technical appendices provide additional background about historic resources from an architectural and archaeological perspective. And there's also a chapter about potential construction impacts. The 3 sections analyzed in each of the chapters that you'll read are divided into 3. You'll first read about the affected environment, sometimes called existing conditions. You'll then see the impact analysis and then the potential mitigation measures. We also have alternatives that I've mentioned before, and I want to just go through those. We're looking at the demolition alternative that would demolish existing structures and buildings on the site. We're looking at the historic preservation and potential future adaptive reuse alternative. And then we're looking at the no action alternative, which would be continuing current site conditions and existing structures that remain and would be vacant and not utilized. No action is required by SEPA. And then tips for commenting. You're invited to comment on the adequacy of the EIS analysis. If you think something's lacking, please let us know. If there are other topics that you think should be evaluated, please let us know. If you have comments about potential impacts or mitigation measures, please comment. And anything else that you would like to comment on related to the EIS analysis. And with that, I'll pass it back to Kristen.
Thanks, Pam. We're now going to take a brief 3-minute break. If you're signed up to provide a comment tonight, please be ready to share your comment when you return. I just want to clarify, each person will have 3 minutes to comment, and there will be a timer on the screen. If you didn't sign up to provide comments during registration or at the beginning of the meeting, but now you've decided you'd like to provide comment, please write your first name and last name in the Q&A now, and a project team member will add you to the queue. All right, we'll see you back here in 3 minutes. Welcome back. We're now moving into the public comment session. As we begin public comment, we ask that everyone be respectful of this public process, the consulting project team who's a neutral facilitator, and all those who are participating in the meeting this evening. We'll give everyone a moment to read over the ground rules detailed on the slide here. So I have a list of those who would like to provide comment. Remember, if you'd like to provide comment but haven't signed up yet, you still have an opportunity by adding your first and last name in the Q&A box, and we'll add you to the queue. We will be accepting one comment per person tonight. When it's your turn to comment, I'll call your name and then call the names of the next two people in line. And when it's your turn to speak, a member of our team will invite you to speak by sending you a notification like the one shown here on the screen that says the host would like you to speak. From there, you'll unmute yourself and you'll have 3 minutes to give your comment. Please start by providing your name and mailing address for the record. There'll be a timer on the screen. When the 3 minutes are up, we'll move on to the next speaker. We'll end the meeting this evening when everyone has had an opportunity to provide a comment once. And as a reminder, a court reporter is here and will be transcribing all your comments. And this meeting is being recorded in accordance with city law and public records practices. Any comments that are made will become public information, and all public disclosure rules and regulations apply. The deadline for providing comments is March 8th. If you provide them online, the deadline is 4:30 p.m. If you submit comments by mail, the letter must be postmarked by March 8th. All right, let's move into the public comment session. Our first speaker is Ashley Aller. Our second speaker is Barbara Spaeth. And our third speaker is Beth Burris. Ashley, if you are unmuted, please start by stating your name and mailing address. Your time will begin now. I'll give you just a minute. We won't start till you start talking.
Thank you. First name, Ashley, last name, Aller, mailing address 617 South 210th Street, Des Moines, Washington. Thank you for the opportunity to comment. I represent myself as a member of the community. Critical gaps exist within the current environmental impact statement. These include the absence of a purpose and needs statement beyond the objectives for the demolition, and a report detailing the estimated cost of the demolition. The proposed future use of the property, in light of current zoning, has not been delineated. Yet, from review of the current zoning designation, the expenses for demolition and subsequent repurposing would appear to be exceptionally high. Other important details of the proposed demolition lack clarity. These include reasoning for the potential application to permit a variance for nighttime construction, as well as estimates of the amount of toxins contained within the existing structures. These toxins include lead, asbestos, silica, and would come to light during demolition. It is important to know the details of potential safeguards in dealing with the environmental issues due to the demolition. I appreciate the fact that the demolition has tremendous effects on the community, and I trust the city to enforce zoning and building regulations as are contained in the city rules and regulations, while recognizing the limitations on developing a property after demolition. It would still be helpful for the current property owners to tell the community what plans they have if in fact they are granted demolition. Without all of this information, one cannot reasonably weigh the risks and benefits of the proposed demolition upon the quality of the human environment as mandated by the National Environmental Policy Act of 1969. In light of this, I would recommend denying the permit for demolition at present time.
Thank you. Next up, we have Barbara Spaeth, Beth Burris, and then Deborah Alderman. Barbara, if you're here, please unmute yourself. And once you've started speaking, your 3 minutes will start. I'll just ask again, Barbara Spaeth. If you're here, look for the notification to unmute. Okay, thanks. Looks like maybe she's not here. So next up, we have Beth Burris. Please look for the notification on your screen. You can unmute. And once you start talking, your 3 minutes will start. All right, moving on. I'm going to start again to just list the next 3 people. We have Deborah Alderman, Donna Games, and Emily Worthy. Deborah, you should look for the unmute notification, unmute yourself. And when you start speaking, your 3 minutes will start. Again, please start by stating your name and mailing address.
Hello, my name is Deborah Alderman. My mailing address is 107 Southwest 197th Street, Normandy Park, 98166. And thank you for the opportunity to comment. I'm just speaking on behalf of myself, and I would like to advocate for denying permission for demolition and eventually for the option for historic preservation and potential adaptive reuse and that alternative. So I just want to say that I grew up in the area, and as a teenager, I was a member of a Masonic youth movement. We used to visit the Masonic home and visit with the residents, and it was really important to listen to their stories. And it occurs to me that the value, the historic value of these buildings is not just the buildings themselves, although they are important, but the stories that they tell. And part of those stories that they tell is the importance of benevolent societies and fraternal organizations to the development of our society. And a lot of people don't realize that before the social safety net programs that were developed during the Great Depression, it was these kind of organizations. They weren't just social clubs, but they really took care of people. And the Masons actually started looking into building a supportive home back in the 1890s. And it took them a long time to develop the massive amount of money to build this beautiful building in Zenith. And it's just shy of 100 years old. And it really tells the story of how communitarians have really contributed to this country. And I really want to recommend that we not demolish it at this time, but if the Des Moines City Council can find a way to work with the landowner to encourage adaptive reuse and save it for future generations and public benefit. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Next up, we have Donna Games, and then Emily Worthy and Esther Miller. So Donna Games, if you are here and received the unmute notification, unmute yourself. Your 3 minutes will start when you begin speaking. Please start by giving your name and mailing address. Right. I'm giving a pause just so everyone knows I'm pausing here. We have some people that signed up to give comment but might not be here tonight. So we're just trying to ensure that people have the opportunity to comment if they are here. All right, moving on. Next, Emily Worthy. If you're here, please look for the notification. Unmute yourself. Your 3 minutes will begin when you start speaking. Start by giving your name and mailing address. All right, we're going to move on to the next name, Esther Miller. If you are here and would like to speak, please unmute yourself. All right, we're going to move on to the next set of 3 names. George Pettibone, then Jana Wattenberg, and then, or Jana Wattenberg, and then Janet Larson. We'll start with George Pettibone. Again, look for that notification to unmute yourself. Start by giving your name and address, and your 3 minutes will start when you begin speaking.
Okay, George. Yes, George. Hello.
Hello, hello. My name is George Pettibone. I live in Zenith, Washington. I would like to start off by saying that I would advocate very heavily for the restoration and reuse of this building and the requiring that the demolition does not occur. The zoning is a funny word. It's got a lot of meaning, a lot of power. It's a historical word. It goes back as much as 2,000 years ago. Buildings were built in cities in Europe for purposes, and they put together zoning concepts, whether they called that such a word or not. Why did zoning get started? Because they needed to keep from having pig farms in Bellevue or pig farms in Normandy Park or Paris. Who built these great cities in Europe? China, Egypt, and England, as well as many other places. Who maintained them for as many as 2,000 years of their buildings, their roads, their waterways, their sewer systems, their ports, their infrastructure. Everything about a city is very vital to other parts of it. You cannot just throw things up somewhere because you want to. The caretakers of the land are all of us. Every one of us has a belief that we own a house, but actually we're caretakers of the house. We take care of the fish, the water, the rivers, the trees, the air we breathe, because another generation is going to come along and replace us. And a building that's 100 years old, built by the stonemasons, are the people that built permanent buildings. They were not put up in a shabby manner. This building is very, very well built and could easily be restored and reused. There are no answers in the current EIS to satisfy me as a semi-retired contractor. The EIS is full of potatoes and rice and marshmallows, but there's no meat in there. I can't find the beef. There is nothing in here that would tell me that it's an EIS. It's a historical document, and it's 900 pages long, and it doesn't tell us how many buildings they're going to build for the new institutional zoning. If they're going to build a hospital, they're going to build a retirement home, are they going to build a new wing on Highline Community College? There's only 5 pieces of property in the state, in this city, called EIC, institutional zoning. Institutional campus doesn't mean that you can build anything that you want after you tear down the building. Please look very carefully into this, because they didn't build Rome in a day, and they're not tearing down the Colosseum. The Colosseum has no demolition.
Thank you. Your time is up. We're going to move on to the next speaker. Thank you very much. Next up, we have Jana Wattenberg, I apologize, Janet Larson, and then Jennifer Kropak. Jana, please unmute yourself, state your name and address, and your 3 minutes will start when you begin speaking.
Hi, this is, can you hear me okay?
Yes,
Okay,
thanks.
this is Jenna Wattenberg, and I'm on South 240th Place. So the Masonic home is essentially my front yard. And I just want to say I concur entirely with the first speaker, Ashley. She completely nailed it. I'm especially as like a mother in the area. I mean, my first like red flags were asbestos, lead with the demolition, but also with the elementary school down the street, the heavy traffic that the construction is going to the dangers and risks that puts to the community, specifically the children, and then, you know, the elderly community with the retirement homes nearby. It's very concerning, and you know, I'm in favor of denying the permit and doing more of an adaptive reuse. And there's just an overall distrust of the whole process because of the secrecy of what the plans are, because not only does the construction impact our lives and our health and that of, you know, our sensitive population, but it also going forward, the traffic, are you going to put homes there? That's going to affect our traffic and our home values. And there's just a complete distrust of, due to the secrecy of what it's going to be there. And for that reason, we just adamantly encourage to deny the permit.
Thank you for your comment. Next up, we have Janet Larson, Jennifer Kropak, and Joanne Bynum. Janet, please unmute yourself using the notification you were sent. State your name and address. And then your 3 minutes will start when you begin speaking. All right, moving on, Jennifer Kropak. If you're here. Moving on, Joanne Bynum. Look for a notification, unmute yourself, state your name and address. When you begin speaking, your 3 minutes will start.
Hi, my name is Joanne Bynum. I live at 22806 Thunderbird Drive here in Des Moines. I also want to thank you for the opportunity to provide our opinions on the proposed project. I'd like to also echo what Ashley said. Part of my concerns are what the plans for the development after demolition are. During demolition, my concerns, as mentioned, the toxins and whatnot, is also the loss to the tree canopy. And although I know that some of the land is the forested acreage, I don't see a plan to demolish that. There are very large mature trees close to the buildings. And I think that with industrial development just encroaching all around us, I think it's incredibly important to maintain any trees that we can, especially the large mature ones. I too would prefer to see an adaptive reuse. I don't know if there's a public-private partnership with the developers that could be developed. As we mentioned, since there are no stated plans for what the development would be. And I'd also like to echo what George said. I, like many people here in Des Moines, work for the airlines, and I'm fortunate enough to be able to travel the world. And I so enjoy going to countries, cities, communities that place value on historical buildings and architecture that created the communities that they became, and they feel that it's important enough to maintain and preserve and be good stewards of that. And I myself would like to live in a community that places a value on that myself. I thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. Next up, we have John Rodesno, Judy Davies, and Catherine Ledbetter. John, please go ahead and unmute yourself, state your name and address. Your 3 minutes will start when you begin speaking. All right. Next up is Judy.
Hi, John.
Oh, John. Okay, good. Great.
Hi. Okay. Yes. Hi, my name is John Rodesno. My address is 22238 24th Avenue South, 98198. I am a current resident of the city of Des Moines and am architectural staff at SMR Architects. I'm providing public comments on the draft environmental impact statement for the former Masonic home / landmark on the Sound located at 2360 Marine View Drive South. I wholeheartedly urge the Des Moines City Council to do everything in its power to support and facilitate the rehabilitation of the Masonic Home. The Masonic Home of Washington is a resource that has been determined eligible for the listing in the National Register of Historic Places, a condition that should not be taken lightly and would be a first for the city of Des Moines if placed onto the National Register. Rather than pursuing demolition, I fully support option 3, the historic preservation and potential future adaptive reuse alternative in the draft EIS. The historic preservation and potential future adaptive reuse option must be thoroughly exhausted prior to any further consideration of demolition, especially when no redevelopment plans have been made public. There is no clear way to mitigate the loss of such a significant resource, and so demolition and mitigation should not be pursued. The city of Des Moines should not issue a demolition permit and should pursue alternative 3, historic preservation and potential future adaptive reuse as a preferred alternative. This alternative should include an economic feasibility study for rehabilitation of the existing Masonic home, as the location of the site is adjacent to accessible public transit, Route 165 bus stop, breathtaking views of Puget Sound, and is a potential site to be developed into a public and pedestrianized green space or arboretum or even more. The Masonic home is not only a cultural and historic treasure that connects Washingtonians and visitors alike to the legacies of our past, but it's also an undeniable opportunity to actualize the proclaimed goals set by the city of Des Moines, its comprehensive plan, and its city's residents. We now have an opportunity to revitalize one of Washington's great historic landmarks. Thank you for your time and support.
Thank you. Before we move on to the next speaker, I thought I would just add that we realize that it's possible that some of you may be attending or sharing a computer, and so your name does not match the name on the Zoom screen. And rest assured that at the end of the comment period, we'll provide an opportunity to make sure that people can let us know if they want to provide comment, even if their name is not showing up in the Zoom list. Right now, we're going to move on to the next 3 speakers, Judy Davies, Catherine Ledbetter, and Loyal Little Jr. So Judy, look for that unmute notification. Please state your name and address, and your 3 minutes will start when you begin speaking. Let's try Catherine Ledbetter. Unmute yourself. Start by stating your name and address. All right, next up, Lloyd Little Jr. or Lytle Jr. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Yes, Lloyd Lytle Jr. here. Thank you so much. Resident of Des Moines for a couple of decades now, live in the Zenith neighborhood, right across from the Masonic home. Yeah, looked through or at least what I could of the draft EIS so far. And one thing it clearly shows is the building is significant historically and culturally. And looking at the mitigations, they do not appear anywhere near adequate. And for that reason, the permit ought to be denied. It goes against Des Moines' own municipal codes. For instance, quote, it does not assure the retention of aesthetically and culturally pleasing surroundings. Des Moines Municipal Code 16.05.310.4A2. If you demolished it, you would not be upholding that code. Another one it goes against would be, quote, preserve important historic aspects of our local, state, and national heritage. Des Moines Municipal Code 16.05.310.4A2 through 4, unquote. So there's just, you can't really replace that building, and it shows that in the draft EIS. Any mitigation is inadequate, so it ought to be denied. Do support the adaptive reuse. Like to see some type of public-private partnership alternative as part of that versus its own alternative. I've heard, just through unofficial things, the owner of the property has expressed some interest in a revitalization, but they would want support, and that support is definitely out there. Senator Karen Kaiser and Representative Tina Orwell of Washington State have indicated they would definitely look for state financial support there. We've heard it from the county. I'm sure the city, I know they can't comment much right now, but if a roundtable came together, a lot of good ideas could happen. I think City Hall could move in there. Would like to see some tribal collaboration options. There was a guy from Muckleshoot who came and spoke at the historical Des Moines Society meeting, talked about the history of Des Moines before any settler people got here. So they have a large history here too. It'd be great to collaborate with them on some type of public-private collaboration. Also, I lead a public petition with Barbara Michaels. We got 2,300 signatures to support the preservation and revitalization, and people from the Empress Hotel who redid that, skilled artisans who do like European style work. They've reached out and said, hey, we'd like to help work on this. So I totally believe a really good collaboration could come forth from this. And also do want to say, I didn't agree with the wildlife low quality. There's documented bald eagles there, big lawns for Canada geese. So it's very high quality and one of the last tree canopies in Des Moines. So with that, I would say it should be preserved as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next three speakers are Mario House, Mary Ellis, and Moira Nadal. Mario House, please unmute yourself. Start by stating your name and address. Moving on, Mary Ellis. Unmute yourself. Start by stating your name and address. Moving on to our next speaker, Moira Nadal. Please unmute yourself. Start by stating your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Moira Nadal, 1204 Minor Avenue, Seattle, Washington, 98101. I am speaking tonight on behalf of the Washington Trust for Historic Preservation. The Washington Trust is a nonprofit organization dedicated to saving the places that matter in Washington state and to promoting sustainable and economically viable communities through historic preservation. Since 2015, we have listed the Des Moines Masonic home as one of our state's most endangered places. After review of the draft environmental impact statement, we have found it incomplete. Without a proposal for future use and development of the site, it is not possible to adequately understand the potential for environmental impacts. What is made clear in the draft EIS is the significance of this site. The Masonic home site is eligible to be listed as its own historic district, with 10 contributing resources, 3 of which are also individually National Register eligible. Large-scale demolition of a site that could be its own historic district with multiple National Register eligible buildings is not justified by wanting to avoid graffiti and vandalism. Demolition of this site cannot be undone. These buildings and old-growth woods cannot be recreated and do not deserve to be in a landfill. The mitigation proposed in the draft EIS does not substantively relate to the site, its history, or significance. Aside from what has been proposed, there does not appear to be any mitigation plan sufficient to address the loss of such a clearly significant collection of buildings and structures. The City of Des Moines is empowered under the State Environmental Protection Act to exercise all practical means to preserve important historic, cultural, and natural aspects of local heritage. The Masonic home site is a clear example of a resource significant in all those areas, and not enough information has been presented to explore adaptation and reuse. We urge the City of Des Moines to deny the demolition permit and require the applicant to provide additional information on future development and strategic approaches for adaptive reuse. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Molly Graber, Nancy Core, and Sally Roach. Molly Graber, please unmute yourself. Give you a few seconds here. Your time will start when you start speaking. Start by stating your name and address. Nancy Core, if you're here, please unmute yourself. Start by stating your name and address. Your 3 minutes will start when you begin speaking. Our next speaker is Sally Roach. Please unmute yourself using the unmute notification. State your name and address.
I think I got it. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, cool. I was the one sending in saying, give them a few more seconds.
Yes, yes, thank you for that. I was trying to pause a little longer, and we'll ask again at the end to make sure everyone has their time.
Thank you. My name is Sally Roach, and I live at 1433 South 101st Street. Berrien, I'm actually a tiny bit north of Berrien. Anyway, it breaks my heart to think that they would tear this building down. It's art to me. The old stuff is art. And several people have spoken here and said that, you know, they love to travel. I love to travel. I was in Croatia a few months ago, and there was an old church there that they are restoring, and it's costing them money, but they said once it's gone, it will never be rebuilt again, you know. And that's one of the things for me. One of the reasons I like to travel is I love the art of the old buildings. And to me, just tearing this down is like, you know, a Picasso is old, let's just trash it. You know, or the Mona Lisa is old, let's just trash it. And it's heartbreaking to me that we don't preserve these things. And we're all smart people. I know there are ways to figure out how to preserve this building and the grounds around it and reuse it and make it something that, you know, we can all enjoy. On the East Coast, I've toured some of the old the mills that they had, and they've made beautiful condos and offices and museums and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know why we can't do this here. It seems like out here we tend to be more prone to wanting to just get rid of stuff and put up something new. But I'm really hoping that this can be saved and that we can all enjoy it in perpetuity. And thank you so much for having this period of comments. And I'm going to try to find out how to get more involved with this. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next three speakers are Severina Schultz, Shauna Velasquez, and Steve Sparks. Severina, please unmute yourself. Start by stating your name and address, and your 3 minutes will start when you begin speaking.
Hello, my name is Severina. My address is, I live in South Seattle, so a little bit close to Des Moines, and I can get to Des Moines by the freeway. And the reason why I would like to comment tonight is I am a college student currently. I'm in a photography major, and I haven't been able to see this building for the past few years. Like, I have done some research and learned that it was open to the public, I believe, but I'm not sure. So that is not completely true to whoever thinks it's true right now. But I think this building has a good charm to it. It looks very pretty, and I feel like for me, it would be a very nice opportunity, and for others to see this building and art, and like as just a way to preserve it for the future generations, or just for the current generation to see what historical buildings look like. And I feel like it's a shame that this would be demolished for not very clear reason. And I believe it should just be preserved, just so we can understand what past architecture has looked like, and like just for a lot of new generations to understand what we are, what we can, sorry, I'm in the middle of something, but understand what the architecture was and how it can be before and just the way to preserve it. And that's it for me.
Thank you. Our next three speakers are Shauna Velasquez, Steve Sparks, and Susan White. Shauna, please unmute yourself. Start by stating your name and address, and your 3 minutes will start when you begin speaking. All right, moving on. Steve Sparks. Please look for the unmute notification, unmute yourself. Start by stating your name and address, and your 3 minutes will start when you begin speaking. All right, our next speaker is Susan White. Please unmute yourself using the unmute notification. Start by stating your name and address.
Hi, good evening. My name is Susan White, and I live at 28742 Redondo Beach Drive South in Des Moines. I totally support historic preservation and potential future adaptive reuse for this beautiful historic treasure. The Masonic home is not only a cultural and historic treasure that connects Washingtonians and visitors alike to the legacies of our past, but it's also undeniable opportunity to actualize the goals set by the city of Des Moines, its local and regional stakeholders, and community members. Historic preservation and potential future adaptive use options must be thoroughly exhausted prior to any further consideration of demolition, especially when no redevelopment plans have been made public. There is no clear way to mitigate the loss of such a significant resource, and so demolition and mitigation should not be pursued. The city of Des Moines should not issue a demolition permit and should pursue alternative 3, historic preservation and potential future adaptive reuse as the preferred alternative. I mean, this is just such a magnificent building that can be repurposed. There's 27 acres there. Surely there's got to be a way to include that part of the developer's plans or ideas that there would be other stakeholders, as mentioned previously, with our legislators, tax credits, all kinds of things that can be done to to make that happen. Unfortunately, all this stuff about graffiti and if the place is fenced off, I keep hearing there's all this damage to that building. It's like so destroyed. Well, I don't know. It's been sitting there for a long time and I don't know how all this happened, but that clearly would have to be addressed, but I don't think it's insurmountable. So anyway, hopefully the city council will make the right decisions and deny this permit to demolish that beautiful building. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment. We have one additional name on our list that I'll call out in a minute, and just please note that after that person speaks, we'll also give a moment or an opportunity for others to raise their hand and let us know if they want to speak, because I do understand there were a lot of people that were registered, but we are not seen on our participant list. Before we move to that, I'd like to call Suzanne Vargo to speak. Receive a notification, unmute yourself, start by stating your name and address.
Hi, thank you so much for allowing me to speak this evening. My name is Suzanne Vargo. I reside at 2522 South 361st Street here in Federal Way. I am a board member on the Historical Society of Federal Way, as well as the nonprofit group known as KEEP. I am speaking today as a private citizen. I am in full opposition of any demolition on the property known as a landmark on the Sound in Des Moines. I ask that the city to deny any demolition permits. I am so grateful to the many intelligent and thoughtful comments that have been expressed on this subject. I would like to echo the concerns we have of the developer not providing proper information as to an end plan for this space. The SEPA is held in high regard, and the process in which it is delegated must be adhered to in its entirety. The City of Des Moines has authority regarding the SEPA to ensure all people of the state to have a safe, healthful, productive, aesthetic, culturally pleasing surroundings. Upholding the RCWs contained in its own growth management plan must not be interpreted as lip service to the citizens and visitors of Des Moines, but as a dedicated promise to be upheld and carried out. Tree canopy is not only beneficial to mental health, but it is critical for our future society. All cities have pledged to participate in our state's climate change programs. Des Moines has fallen behind in its healthy tree canopy initiative, and any destruction of the mature trees, such as the 100-year-old Atlas cedar trees, should be completely unacceptable. I can very much understand that the task at hand may seem daunting to the average person, but I'm here to tell you firsthand that the save, restoration, and reuse can absolutely become our reality. You see, I am with the KEEP group. That stands for Kilworth, Educational, Environmental, Preserve. It was a group of 6 citizens that took on developers, fiduciaries, naysayers, that resulted in the saving of a 27-acre wildlife corridor on the high banks of Puget Sound. We were the 3rd attempt over 20 years and successfully saved an old Boy Scout camp which ran for 82 years. It was made possible by the Washington Trust for Historic Preservation, as we were also the most endangered place in 2018. Through encouragement and assistance of the Trust for Culture, State, Citizen Involvement, the buyers were found in Forterra, and they have leased the land to the Greater YMCA of Seattle. Full restoration of the lodges, the trails, the amphitheater will all be complete, and school children in our entire area will once again be able to enjoy the magic scenery and experience this for another year. Regardless if you've seen this fantastic building from the air, land, sea, all gasp in awe at its magnificence. I highly encourage the city of Des Moines to exhaust every avenue, such as public-private means, to secure the historical Mason home for future use.
Excuse me, your time is now up. So we still have some names on our list of people who signed up to comment, but we aren't seeing you in the names of the list of participants here this evening, here in the Zoom platform. And we want to make sure you have an opportunity to comment. So if you would raise your hand now, if you'd like to provide comment, maybe you're participating from a different computer or joined us late. Whatever it is, if you could use the raise hand feature at the bottom of your screen to let us know you'd like to provide comment, and we'll send you a message to unmute. So we're just going to pause for a minute in case it takes people a minute to figure out the raise the hand feature and make sure everyone has an opportunity to comment that is interested. I'm just looking over at the list. I'm just going to wait another minute or two. All right, we're not seeing that anyone has raised their hand and asked to provide comment. And so that concludes the public comment session of this evening. Okay. All right, we're going to restate, before we do that though, I'm gonna restate the names of people that we called out earlier, but they didn't speak. Give me just, we're gonna quickly try to go through that list. And if you're here, just please raise your hand using the raise hand feature at the bottom of the screen. Barbara Spaeth, Beth Burris, Donna Games, Emily Worthy, Esther Miller, Janet Larson, Jennifer Kropak, Judy Davies, Catherine Ledbetter, Mario House, Mary Ellis, Molly Graber, Nancy Kaur. And again, I'll just pause for a moment. Oh, sorry, I missed a couple. Shauna Velasquez, Steve Sparks. Again, use the raise hand feature, even if you're participating from someone else's computer, so the name looks different. You can still, we can call on you and you can state your name. I'll wait just one more minute. All right, that concludes the public comment session at this evening's meeting. We'd like to thank everyone for participating. And before we end the meeting, we'd like to once again share information about how you can submit your comments in writing, online, or through regular mail. We'll leave this slide up for another minute if you want to write any information down. Thank you again for being here this evening and participating in the public meeting. Have a good night.